welcome back to this 10-part series about metacognitive therapy. Today's the final video of the series and we're wrapping up with perhaps the most crucial episode, how to implement MCT into our daily lives. So far in the series, we've looked at different concepts and techniques that are commonly used within MCT. If you're looking for more in-depth explanations about any of these concepts or techniques from MCT, I recommend you go back and watch the previous videos of the series. I'll leave a link to the playlist right here. So today I want to give you some more examples of situations where MCT can be useful, and I'll give you some practical strategies that you can implement into your daily life. Let's get this final video off the ground. So MCT really helps us to understand that it's not just what we think, but more how we think about our thinking that impacts our mental health. Daily life is full of moments where our metacognitive beliefs shape our experiences, but it's also full of moments where we have the chance to take back control by practicing some of the techniques from MCT. Sometimes we can spend a lot of time and energy on overthinking without even realizing it, especially if we're feeling down. We can end up overthinking for hours in our own little world without being aware of the life around us. Worry, rumination, and generally overthinking can feel like this mental loop where we get stuck thinking the same thoughts over and over again without arriving at a solution or any kind of relief. Recognizing that we are engaging in overthinking is the first step to breaking out of it. Once you've recognized that you're stuck in negative thoughts, there are a few things you can do to break the cycle. So first off, it can be really helpful to label your overthinking. Typically, you'll be able to notice that you're worrying or ruminating about something in particular. This could be problems at work, your relationship, your kids, your finances, or your past. As you recognize the topic you're ruminating on, simply put a label on it. For example, I'm ruminating about my past. Doing this helps to raise your meta-awareness. When you recognize that you're overthinking, you stop yourself from continuing to overthink. Another benefit of labeling your overthinking is that it prevents you from using distractions to stop your overthinking. By recognizing what you're thinking about, you implicitly accept the thought rather than try to push it away. Once you've labeled your thought as overthinking, you can question the purpose of the overthinking. Doing this will help you identify the underlying metacognitive belief. Now, your metacognitive beliefs can make you think that the overthinking is actually useful. Unfortunately, if we buy into that idea, we'll continue to overthink without questioning it. So our overthinking is driven by our metacognitive beliefs. The belief that you can benefit from overthinking will determine how much you'll do it. So if we believe that overthinking is helpful, then it makes sense to spend hours doing it. So the real question is, are you getting to a solution through your overthinking? Ask yourself this from time to time, and you might be surprised at how much time we waste overthinking without getting to a solution. We discussed this in a previous video where we distinguished between circular, unhelpful rumination and constructive reflection. Being aware of this difference allows you to reduce the impact of circular overthinking. And finally, when you've labeled your overthinking and questions the metacognitive beliefs driving it, you can choose to postpone thinking any more about the problem until later on that day. In MCT, we work with the concept of worry postponement. Adrian Wells, who's the founder of MCT, proposes that we set aside 10 minutes every day for scheduled worrying time. During this 10 minutes, you can worry or ruminate as much as you want, but that means that all the rest of the day, you can refer any worries or ruminations that pop into your head to that scheduled worry time later in the day. The idea behind worry postponement is to delay the reaction to trigger thoughts. So instead of worrying about what if something bad happens as the thought pops into your head, you can choose to delay worrying and analyzing that thought until later on in the day. Now, it's important to note that this is different from thought suppression. When you postpone worrying about a thought, you allow the thought to exist at the back of your mind, but you choose to not engage with it. Thought suppression, on the other hand, is when you use mental effort to try to push a thought away, and your goal is to get rid of the thought rather than to coexist with it. So when you want to look at scheduling worry time, it's important that you limit yourself to 10 minutes, and it helps if you try to pick the same time and place every day. So try to pick whatever time fits into your daily routine. For me, that would typically be 8 p.m. because I know that's the time when I've finished putting my kids to bed and I've got some time to reflect on my day. Once you have that set time, this is now the time that you can refer all the worries and ruminations that pop into your mind throughout the day to. You can postpone worrying through using detached mindfulness, where you acknowledge and accept that the thought is there, but you choose to not engage with it. So practically, we can boil worry postponement down into 3 steps. Whenever you experience a thought that triggers your worry, you can say to yourself, there's a worrisome thought. However, I do not need to dwell on this now. I'm going to leave it alone and deal with it later in my scheduled worry time. Then postpone worrying about that thought for your scheduled worry time, which ideally should happen at the same time and place every day. And the 3rd step is simply to move on with your day. Now you can repeat this sequence as many times during the day as you find necessary, every time you find yourself overthinking. What we'll often find is that when we get to that designated worrying time later on in the day, we'll often have forgotten most of the thoughts that we postponed. This is completely normal and okay, and we shouldn't try to force the thoughts back into the front of our minds. The thoughts not popping up again during your scheduled worry time is an indication of 2 things. One is that your mind has dealt with the thought on its own, and the second is that the problem you encountered earlier in the day that sparked worry probably wasn't as big of a deal as you thought it was in the moment. It's estimated that we have around 3,000 negative thoughts every single day. If we don't interfere with these thoughts, they'll typically go again within just a few seconds. This is the mind's self-regulatory process. Now, because of this self-regulatory process, your mind will help you filter out about 80% of all the negative thoughts you encounter through the day. By the time you get to your scheduled worrying time, only 20% will remain, and that will make it a lot easier for you to solve those problems and help you concentrate on the important stuff. Worry postponement can be a really powerful way of introducing MCT into your daily life. It can make it so much easier to let go of thoughts during the day, leave them be when you know you're just postponing them. Especially when first starting out with MCT, it can be comforting to know that if it is something really important, then you will get a chance to worry about them later. Now let's move on to detached mindfulness and attention training technique, both of which we've already covered in the series. Both of these techniques can be incorporated into your daily life. We just saw in the last example how we can use detached mindfulness to observe and choose to not engage with our thoughts, but rather to postpone them. For both ATT and detached mindfulness, the more we practice it, the easier it becomes. This is both because we get more familiar with the techniques the more we practice them, but also because the more we practice and we experience that we're able to control our attention, the easier it is to believe and trust that we can do it. This weakens our metacognitive beliefs and it reduces the time and energy that we spend ruminating and worrying. So detached mindfulness can be practiced anywhere, anytime. For example, when you're waiting in line at the supermarket, take a moment to observe your thoughts. Remember, you're just an observer. Your thoughts can't control you and you can't control your thoughts. They're simply there for you to observe. When first starting out with practice in detached mindfulness, it may be easier to set aside some dedicated time for it. As you become more familiar with the technique, it'll be easier to practice it anywhere and on the go. To get started, you can choose a time each day for observation practice. First thing in the morning or last thing in the evening may be ideal. Sit quietly and simply observe your thoughts and your feelings. The goal is to not engage with or judge your thoughts, but simply to observe them passively. Whenever you find yourself judging a thought, for example by thinking this is a bad thought, gently remind yourself that I'm just observing, not judging. This helps to cultivate a stance of curiosity rather than criticism. So attention training technique can also be practiced anywhere. You've heard me say many times through this series that you can't control your thoughts, but you can control your attention. That means we can control how much time and energy we spend on our thoughts. ATT helps us practice controlling our attention. Similar to what we saw with detached mindfulness, it may be easier when you're starting out to dedicate some time to practice ATT. Find a comfortable place and close your eyes. Start by focusing on the most distant sounds you can hear. Then shift your focus to closer sounds, eventually focusing on the sound of your own breathing. This practice trains your brain to shift, narrow, and broaden your focus deliberately. I talk through the full process of how you can do that in the video about ATT. Now, since making that video, a subscriber made me aware that they create these guided sound exercises for ATT, and they're excellent for getting started. I'll leave a link to their channel in the description and in the pinned comment so you can check them out if you want to get started with ATT with a bit of extra help. Once you become more familiar with the practice of ATT, you can start practicing it anywhere. For example, while walking, periodically shift your focus between the sounds around you, the sensation on your feet touching the ground, and the rhythm of your breath. This helps to integrate ATT into your life in a practical, ongoing way. Integrating MCT into your daily life is a journey, not a destination. It's all about gradual improvement and learning how to navigate and coexist with your thoughts in a healthy way. So if you're wanting to incorporate MCT into your daily life, start small. Choose 1 or 2 techniques that you want to incorporate into your daily routine. Maybe it's practicing detached mindfulness during your morning coffee or practicing ATT at night before you go to bed. Consistency is key, so whatever you choose to try out, try to stick with it for a longer period of time to start seeing the effects. Over time, you'll likely see a shift in how you relate to your thoughts and your emotions. Now, we've covered a lot of ground in this series, and I really hope you found it helpful. It's important to remember that our mental well-being is a vital part of our overall well-being. Keep practicing, stay curious, and most importantly, stay kind to yourself along the way. If you found this series helpful, please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments. I love to hear from you, so please don't hesitate to leave a comment if there's any particular topic that you'd like to see in future videos. I upload new psychological insights, tips and tools on this channel, all aimed at spreading mental health awareness and helping you improve your mental well-being. If you're not already, I'd love for you to subscribe so we can meet again. Thank you for watching this one, take care, and bye for now.